Good afternoon. It's Tuesday and welcome to Saba's Way of Life. Today it's going to be a rant talk because there's a lot of frustration that I want to vent, but it's also an important education on how the minds of the masses are so dense that they are unable to think in any sphere from a holistic basis. Now, I'm going to tell you a story because I am all about stories, because with a story, it's a system. There is a background, beginning, middle, and end, and then quite often the moral of the story. It's not quite like that. But those of you who are following this channel understand how my mind works and how I'm encouraging you all to think in the same way, which is a whole, holistic way with a system mind, which is the opposite of a rigid way of thinking. Do this, do that, black and white, left and right, vax or no vax. So let me begin. Right. This morning, I had a knock from my next door neighbour, who I've developed quite a good community neighbourly relationship with, and it's a gentleman who's about my age, and for the last 10-15 years he had been caring for his mother, who has now died. She died yesterday, and a person who has been an individual, a child who has been in the house day in, day out, caring for his mother, one would assume quite rightly that he would know his mother's needs better than anybody, certainly better than the doctors or the hospital or anyone else, but certainly better than his own siblings who don't live there or even in the country or don't have time for whatever reason to visit. And he arrived at the door this morning and he just burst into tears. So now my talk isn't about that. It's to explain to you that the understanding that this individual clearly understands who his mother is. She was in a home for the last 2 months because he physically couldn't lift her anymore. She was bedbound and take her to the toilet, and his own back was damaged. And he had given up a huge part of his life, rightly or wrongly, that's a different thing, and sacrificed a huge part of his life where he was just taking care of her. So after he'd left, I was having a really long think. I always contemplate things. A lot of people, thousands upon thousands upon thousands, are dying. We all know why. Certainly in just the group of people that I know, my parents being of an elderly age, both of them 80, my mother almost 80 and my father almost 90, all of their peer group friends in the last 3 years, 4 years, go work that out, one or both of the husband and wife team partnership has died or is very, very ill, or one has died just suddenly, and the other is very ill. All of them succumbed to the gene intervention therapy. I'm just using my words wisely. Now, this isn't about vax or no vax. What I'm talking about here is the understanding of people. Now, there's 2 things here. I hope I'm making some sense. Do not, if you are an individual, right, this is speaking to both sides. If you are someone who has an elderly member of your family or somebody that needs help, and you go once a week and say, what can I do for you? Or you pick up the phone and make a call. How are you? Are you all right? and you think that you are doing your duty to care, think again. That is you living from the consciousness of this selfish system. The little smile, the little attitude that, you know what, I'm doing my bit. I'm going once a week. Come and have tea with me. Come and have tea with me. Oh, let's all go shopping. If you're doing that with your elderly or your parent and you think you know them, you don't. To care for somebody is to be there with them consistently. And this lesson goes with anything. If you want to learn something or live a way of life, you don't live that way of life once a week. You live that way of life every moment of every day. When you are caring for your elderly or you're looking after your parents and you say you take care, you need to be consistently understanding where they are every day. You need to be living in that area and seeing them every day, because it's by doing that you can assess their needs, where they're weak, where they're strong, where they are not communicating well. Are they eating properly? Do they need help? Are they struggling with walking, with thinking, with doing things? Our elderly, especially in the West, we have been led and brainwashed to believe that being diplomatic is the right thing to do. Oh, don't trouble that person. Oh, don't trouble. Bullshit. If you're an elderly parent or you're older and you need help, ask for it and demand it, because it is a duty of care of a person who is human, with a human heart and with a consciousness and the ability to understand what love means, to help those closest to them. It's absolutely a duty of care, no matter what. It's why are you here? Why do you exist on this earth if you cannot be of service to others, and especially service to the elderly who are being neglected? And the worst still, we talk about, Dr. Shiva talks about this a lot, Ayyadurai, where he talks about the establishment who are quite openly evil. We know who they are. I'm sure those of you who are watching this would know. But then there is the not so obvious establishment who are more sinister because they pretend to be. They pretend to be caring, like family members. Oh, I care so much. Well, where are you? Show me in your action, where are you for your mother, for your father? What are you doing for them on a daily basis? Oh, the once a week or once a month phone call and inviting them round for dinner. Yeah, that's your bit done, because you're so busy. Other things are far more important. Yes, you may have children or not have children, but if you are spending all your time on the children because you're stressed out, that's different. But many of them are not. They have time to do other things and put that as a priority over their nearest and dearest. And that is evil. And I speak from a place because what is happening is that evil gene, so to speak, inside people, because I had that once upon a time, it's almost as if, and I've mentioned this before, that you are plugged in to a different frequency. Well, it is. You're plugged into a different frequency, which is a frequency of the system run by Satan, and understand metaphorically what I mean by that, and in reality, run by Satan, who is constantly teasing your brain into following his evil ways. Whereas if you were living from a place connected to nature's principles, which is the principles governed by consciousness attached through your electric wiring to the source of love and care and what you're here for, you wouldn't be able to behave in that way. I was watching and listening to a video on a woman who had a near-death experience, and I've watched scores of these over the years. I find them hugely fascinating. And every single one says the same thing. But the point I want to make with this lady's account, only because I listened to this yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind, and I will share it in the notes below, which will come hopefully tomorrow, was that she said the person she was before her near-death experience and the person she became after the death experience were two polar opposites, a different person. So the people that she was around before she had that experience were not around in her life after that, because she was not the same individual. And what is meant by that is that she was connected to a different source, a divine source. You can call that God or the mind behind the universe. She was connected to that source, and not the source that she was raised to believe was the right source, which is Satan's rigid rules and thinking, hardening of the heart. This is the consciousness of the society we live in today, and the very few remaining. I mean, I was one of them for years until I became very ill with Crohn's, and I had time to reflect upon my life and realize, what have I done? Who was I? How could I have been so cruel to so many people and my nearest and dearest? What came over me? That's not who I am. And it's through those moments of reflection that you change. And for me, it was that experience that changed me. Fortunately, I didn't have to go through a death to realize that. But it was the death, because it's the death of an ego. It was the death of being attached to my identity and the material things that come with the identity, the material things which come with, you must pass that exam. Oh, my children must be the best at that. A lot of people these days are living what they couldn't live through their lives. They're living it through their children. That is pure ego. So much more. When you let go of your identity and realize why you're here, I can guarantee to you, your children will not be in a mainstream school. You will be spending the time focusing on your family, on those around you that you love, and your community. And you will do, not even through force, it becomes part of who you are. You cannot do anything but serve others and live in your authenticity. You do not become I'm so soft and kind, and no, you become resilient, you become strong, you become forceful, just like I am. You become deeply authentic and speak your truth. If you are that way inclined, you will educate yourself and you will teach others. You educate yourself and learn so that you can teach that education, learning and wisdom to others down the line. That is why you're here, and you will also live your life as full as you can, because each of us is here for a purpose. And we all have our unique gifts, whatever that is. And when you are out of this satanic system, out of the enslaved system of work, look, even if you say, well, that's easy, Saba, I can't get out of it. You must become aware of it and spend those moments in silence that I talk about all the time, in deep self-reflection. I am not talking about the reflection that your psychotherapist or your counsellor says. That is an imitation. It's a plagiarism of the real reflection connected to source. Everything that this system has created, the establishment, is a plagiarism of the real system connected to source. When that tweaks, you'll realize they're trying to emulate and literally copy your innate ability to figure things out from source. They're trying to copy it by turning it into a fixed program. So when I'm talking about self-reflection, you don't need a counsellor. I've had people actually say to me, nearest and dearest to me, oh, you're getting so emotional. You need to learn to regulate your emotions. And my answer is, fuck off. No, I will not regulate my emotions when I am speaking from a place of compassion and truth. I will not regulate it. Did your counsellor tell you that? Did your shrink tell you that? That is the teaching to suppress your humanity within you, the real you, the heart of you. That is why when my neighbour came to the door, he broke down, because he's known me for long enough to know that when he sees me, his heart expands and he wants to cry. You have to understand, most people are unable to even shed tears. They're emotionally closed, and teaching others to become the same. Guard your emotions. No. You have no idea how the immune system is being damaged when you suppress your emotions, when you learn diplomacy. There's no one that can argue with what I'm saying. Just look at the disease, illness, death rate, obesity, the inability to think. This and the lives reality is this: you lost sorry humanoids. Many of them are gone. It's over. I ask you the question, what have you done with your life? Tell me about your life. What have you done for others? In fact, you could even ask the question today, what have you achieved for yourself? What have you achieved for yourself? How have you spent your life serving others? What's your legacy? What is your legacy? Have a real think about that. If you died tomorrow, what were you all about? What were you here for? I'm going to share that video of that near-death experience. I've listened to so many over the years, and I would recommend that you all do. But of course, be discerning. But many of them, and these are men who are much older now, who couldn't speak about it before, you can figure out who is speaking from a place of authenticity and not. You can do that once you're able to think for yourself, but you've got to start somewhere, right? Start thinking about living a life of service to others, and start connecting to the system of nature, nature's own source, nature's own rhythm, the divine source that's linked to nature's principles. I'm currently on I don't even want to call it a course because that would be doing it injustice, but I'm studying a systems biology course, which is run by Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. And I started this course in 2020, but I've now come back to it, and I'm going to finish it off because it's an understanding of the body as a system, and using Eastern traditional medicine, Siddha, Ayurveda, Unani, Hikmat, which are two that I was very involved in, and with Western medicine, but not allopathic. Now, before you think you know anything, you would need to do your research to understand what I'm talking about. I'll share Systems Health down below as well, and some more information about Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. Every single person should be watching his stuff. If what I'm saying in all my videos means something to you, this definitely will. But that's what I wanted to talk about today. Think about your elders. Do not think you are doing something for them by picking up the phone call and being fake. Fakery. Get out of this fakery system. Don't take this personally. You're attached to this system if you're like that. And it's a very, very Western system. It's a very British thing. It's also American, but I haven't lived in America, so I don't know. But it's a hugely British thing to be very polite and smiling, and then behind your back stab you. I'm born here. I was born here. I know how it works, being a British citizen myself. But because I have ethnic blood and I was brought up by two mother and father from India, fortunately, I was almost lost, but it was after the age of 40, 45 that I realised, whoa, no. when I got ill and I realized, what am I doing? And thank God I had that awakening. And don't confuse that word with an awakening. No, that's why my life has changed in what I do every day. Your actions speak, not your words, not your smiles, not your dinner parties, not your lunch meetings. No. Your actions and what you do to help change somebody's life for the better. I could talk so much about this, but this is just a reminder for you all. And start thinking about the elderly in your community and go and see them and visit them. Because they need us. We're able. There's many of you who don't work. And if you're sitting there feeling the victim and thinking about yourself, or you're spending time doing something completely useless, like a lot of these influencers, it's all about makeup. Who gives a shit about your makeup when there's somebody around the corner that's disabled who could do with your assistance and help? When you're dead, God isn't going to ask you about your fat lips and your fat bum and your makeup and your clothes, right? That is Satan's frequency. There's no argument there. You understand? If you have children and daughters that are involved in that, and if you're able, get them off the screen and be tough. Not this nonsense that you hear now. You can't shout at the children. You can't do this. Do it. Get them out of school. If the law of the land doesn't allow it, then you need some serious thinking to do. Because my generation is probably the last generation of real human beings, working human beings, who understood what effort means, what suffering means. And my suffering is nothing compared to that of my parents and grandparents. But to know who you are, you need to know suffering. You need to know hard times. You need to feel the pain to be able to change, but if you weren't raised that way. These days, it's considered a good thing if you're raised with helicopter parents that put their arms around you and, oh, love you, oh, my darling, oh, my darling. And they grow up to be feathers that you just, and they blow down. That is not raising a resilient human being. That's raising a fairy. Satan loves fairies. I mean, they come in all shapes and sizes and all sorts of minds. Start being alert to who you are. Start with yourself. And do not ever be perturbed by anyone that says to you, do not speak like that. Watch your emotion. Watch this. As long as you know you're speaking from a place of compassion and you're not insulting somebody, it doesn't matter whether you raise your voice, as long as you're not insulting, whether you speak your truth, whether you're undiplomatic because you need to get a message out and it doesn't serve to stay silent. Say it. No matter what the consequences. That's the truth. If everybody did this, we would not be in the position we're in today. That is a fact. No one can argue with that. We are a society that's collapsing. The people that are offering advice and wisdom are people who've got no experience on anything, who sit behind a screen all day and spend all their time on this. And yet they have the wisdom. They know God. They know what's right from wrong. If you want to ever take advice from somebody, look at who they are by what they do. What do they do every day? What do they do every day? How do they serve others every day? Who do they serve? How much time do they spend with them? Then take them seriously. Otherwise, forget it. And if you are that person who doesn't do anything, then shake yourself up and get on with it. And the best thing you can do is go to an elderly neighbour, go to a hospice and speak to those elderly that are dying and spend time there, because that might shake or move your heart into action. You're wasting your time. You're here for a reason. Watch that near-death experience video and you might gauge an understanding of what I'm saying. Now, had I shared this video speaking like this, you probably wouldn't really have taken me very seriously. You might have gone to sleep by now and be drinking your cup of tea. But because I'm speaking like this, it might move you and jolt you into action. Some it won't, but some of you it will. And it's only the few. It's only the few that are going to take action and change. It always is. And it's always the few that are the ones that create the energy. You'll understand this when you look at the work on Truth, Freedom, Health by Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. It's only the few that create that momentum to make massive change globally. It doesn't take many. Have a good day.